scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize. Which side are you on?
So I had a dream last night that I sat my mom down and told her, like, why I think 9/11 is an inside job. Like, that was literally my whole dream, was being like, well, because the Soviet Union had the control over the oil, and then this thing.
Okay, all right. Did she believe you?
Yeah, kind of. She was
all
like
right.
a little concerned, but she was like, I get it.
I feel like that's usually how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I'm a little concerned, but like, I do get what you're saying.
Like, good points, but are you okay?
I really wish that I could remember my dreams, but then I also feel like it would be a lot of like that, where it's just like me being like, but Mom, the Soviet Union. Yeah, I remember I actually texted my mom because when we were doing the Ukraine Russia beef that was going on, I texted her when I was doing the research for it, and I was like, "Do you remember when the Soviet Union fell?" She was like, "Yeah, it was 1991. I was sitting on the couch and watching the news." Or something like that. Like, is very much one of those like 9/11 moments.
Yeah.
Like,
where were you?
Where were you when the Soviet Union fell?
Make a country song out of that.
I know. What do you think's like going to be? I mean, I feel like COVID's an obvious one.
Yeah.
For like newer generations, like, you know, I remember when I first heard about like COVID-19.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any other like events like that though? Moonshine, you're going crazy.
Crazy. I'm trying to think. I know there totally is. I
feel like, because another one I feel like everybody remembers that like I don't was like the O.J. Simpson.
Oh,
when
yeah,
he was like
totally.
running from everybody in his Bronco.
Totally. I was being born while it was either the trial or the car chase was happening. I don't remember which one, but my mom was like pregnant with me, waiting to push me out, like watching on the TV at the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting because I just can't think of another like high profile thing like that. Like, because like obviously there's like infamous news stories, you know, like you'd be like, Casey Anthony or whatever, but like I can't really think of any other like really high profile people like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm sure there have been some. I'm just drawing a blank.
I just feel like there's so many.
That's also true.
Like I was going to say maybe like Jeffrey Epstein or like the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, but
that would probably be true, yeah. I'd say that would be one of them.
Yeah. Fucking crazy.
Anyway,
every week is a 9/11. Wait, have you seen that fucking it's so bad. Have you seen that like internet copy pasta thing that was this girl tweeting one time, and she was like, I used to live in like an abusive household, and I hear the jingling of my dad's keys when he came home, and I would be terrified. So I don't care about Afghanistan. Every day is my Afghanistan, or something like that.
I'm sure I've read that.
My
I've read a lot of
it's
like
absolutely
creepy
fucking
pastas.
insane.
Yeah. That's what we should also do for a bonus episode, is like just read through bad creepypastas.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That'd be very fun.
Absolutely.
Every day is my Afghanistan. Fuck. Awful. Well, so we're starting a new series. I guess the podcast is Remarks.
Oh yeah, that's the podcast
that's
name.
What you're listening to. My name's Taylor.
I'm Phoebe.
And and we're starting a new series.
And it is called
Take it away.
Okay. Why You Should Hate Insert Name of President
Blank,
here.
Yeah. And it's going to be presidents. I think after we do all the presidents we want to do, we could also just extend it to like
totally.
other people as well. Like why you should hate whoever.
Yeah.
But we are going to start with presidents and just going through why they're awful.
Yeah.
Maybe leaders are bad.
Shouldn't exist.
Maybe no single person should have that much power over everybody else.
No one
Crazy
can
thought.
Have all that power.
Exactly. Yeah. They predicted it.
Absolutely.
Do you want to take it away?
Sure.
Go first.
Well, today I'm going to tell you why you should hate Ronald Reagan.
If you didn't already know.
Yeah, there's so many reasons, but yeah. Ronald Reagan is an interesting character in American politics. He's like regarded as one of the best presidents that this country has ever had, which is so crazy.
The weird Reagan nostalgia that Republicans have is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane, actually.
They loved him. He was like beloved by a large portion of the population during his presidency. However, I feel like these days he's kind of more openly hated and like dunked on, which like, thank God.
Yeah, because people know.
Yeah.
I followed this one TikTok account that was like purely dedicated to like how many days it's been since Ronald Reagan died. So it'd be like every like couple of weeks, it'd be like 24,167 days since Ronald Reagan died. Then it'd be like a picture of Karl Marx, and their eyes would go red, and they'd be like,
"Fuck yeah!"
Do the like the 2-finger ice thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he had just banger after banger of like bad decisions that's fucked our country up to this day.
The greatest hits of
fucking his greatest hits.
Mass murder and fucking war crimes.
You may remember such events such as the Iran-Contra affair,
the
war on drugs,
yep,
the AIDS crisis, the Cold War, and many more.
And then it's like a screen crawl, and it's like has the names highlighted of the songs that are playing. The AIDS crisis.
So let's introduce you to America's 40th president and let you know why you should hate Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
So before Reagan got involved in politics, he was an actor and a radio and TV personality, which is totally normal to have. People from Hollywood be a president.
That was the first mistake there, for sure.
He starred in multiple Hollywood films, and this is just like a really weird fucking tidbit. His favorite role being in a movie called King's Row, where he played a double amputee and had the great line, quote, "Where's the rest of me?"
Wow. Amazing. Crazy writing there. That's amazing stuff.
I really hate it. Ronnie Boy quickly moved up the ranks in Hollywood, at one point making a salary of $3,000 a week.
Whoa, yeah.
A week!
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like a lot by like today's standards,
yes.
I feel.
It's more than
so back then, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a massive amount of money.
Yeah.
He also eventually became president of the Screen Actors Guild, and this is where he really started his career in fuckshittery. Taylor, you may remember HUAC.
Yeah,
that you told us all about.
Mm-hmm.
In the Folk the Police episode. Oh my gosh. Sorry, my thing.
House Un-American Activities Committee?
Yes, exactly. You told us about that in the Folk the Police episode, talking about how the famous folk singers, how they were constantly being accused of communism. So I'll just do like a quick little reminder of what that was. HUAC, which stands for, Taylor just said, the House Un-American Activities Committee, was created to investigate alleged disloyalty and subversive activities of American citizens. But really it was kind of just created to spy on American citizens who even seemed like a little bit communist at all.
And that's the thing too, is it's like, I mean, the folk singers were very communist.
Right.
Like they were all part of the Communist Party. But it's the fuckery is that they were being spied on because of that.
Yeah. And this was all happening during the Red Scare, so of course everyone was like losing their fucking minds over the threat of communism. So HUAC began to suspect actors, writers, etc. in Hollywood of being communist and creating communist propaganda, and this led to the creation of the Hollywood Blacklist, which you also told us about.
Yep.
Which was a list of people in Hollywood that were turned away, and some of them even jailed because of their alleged involvement with the Communist Party. So through the end of the 1940s, Ronald Reagan became an FBI informant for HUAC, providing the name of actors who were suspected of being involved with communism. Marceline? Fucking Moonshine is going crazy today.
Yeah, I think she's taking a pee and it's
good
gotta
for her.
like brush the litter around,
I was like trying to not laugh. Oh my god. And during his, like, being an FBI informant, he even had a cute little code name, which was T10, which is, like, not really cool, but...
I can see why he would think it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, oh, it's like James Bond, like T10.
Exactly.
Like, it kind of sounds like a rejected, like, Terminator name, like,
Totally.
for, like, what Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, would have been called, but they were like, no, it's too dorky.
Exactly. Well, and as we have stated multiple times, the FBI is just... bunch of fucking dorks.
And just fucking dorks LARPing. Like, they're just rich people LARPing.
Yeah. So Reagan testified before HUAC, providing the names of a few individuals and groups who had been rumored to be involved with communism. And while he definitely opposed communism, Reagan did publicly speak out about not being completely thrilled with the FBI's use of him as an informant. He said, quote, "Do they expect us to constitute ourselves as a little FBI of our own and determine just who is a commie and who isn't?" Which, like, cool opinion, but you did still work as an informant for the FBI.
You did that, so...
So you did do it.
Yeah. He's like, I'll do it, but I'm going to be mad.
Yeah. Going to be bummed about it.
Yeah.
So shockingly enough, Ronald's early involvement in politics was kind of liberal, and he was actually registered as a Democrat for some time.
Wow.
Literally, he took a huge fucking 180.
Yeah.
He had joined the American Veterans Committee, who fought against segregation and worked to create peace among nations. And then AVC would even eventually go on to fight for the rights of LGBTQ members of the military, which old Ronnie was long gone by that time, but the irony still hits.
Yeah.
It was truly his fear of communism that drove Ronald over to the right. He became paranoid that communists had infiltrated the AVC and the Democratic Party. And so he went on to join the NRA, opposed the food stamp program, the Peace Corps, the raising of the minimum wage, and even worked with the American Medical Association, creating recordings that were to persuade the listener to write letters to the government to prevent Medicare from being established. And then in one of these recordings, he says that if people did not take action against Medicare, that, quote, "We will awake to find that we have socialism. And if you don't do this, and if I don't do it, one of these days, you and I are going to spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in America when men were free."
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty standard talking point for, like, the anti-communist bullshit.
Uh-huh. It's, like, so dramatic.
Gonna come in and take all your stuff. And, yeah, it's like... I mean, do you need all the stuff, though? You're a fucking rich-ass movie star, Ronald Reagan.
Do you think you could maybe trade a little bit of the stuff so that other people, like everybody could have access to medical care?
Yeah, and, like, food to eat.
Would you be willing to trade some of the stuff for that?
Do you ever consider that maybe some people want to eat?
Yeah, maybe. But they don't. Not everyone deserves to eat, Taylor. Not everyone deserves access to basic, like, necessities.
Yeah, that's what they have always told me. They're like, what about people who don't work hard? And I'm like, you're right. They don't deserve to eat.
Well, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but Ronald Reagan sure hates people that, quote unquote, don't work hard. So Reagan was elected governor of California in 1967 and literally ruined everyone's lives during his terms.
It's like there's that quote from Napoleon Dynamite where he's like, "You've been ruining everybody's lives and eating all our steak."
Yeah.
I feel like that's very much
that's Ronald Reagan.
What Ronald Reagan was doing in California.
He had been heavily critical of UC Berkeley. He felt like they were too lenient on the student protesters, and he called the school, quote, "a haven for communist sympathizers, protesters, and sex deviants."
Those are honestly my three favorite things.
I was going to say, that sounds really awesome.
Should be attending that school.
On May 15th, 1967, students held a rally where they were discussing the Arab-Israeli conflict. Ronald had had enough of these radicals and called the Highway Patrol and Berkeley Police to stop the rally. The officers showed up in full riot gear with nightsticks, tear gas, and literal shotguns with actual bullets.
Oh, no.
All hell broke loose for several hours, leading to the death of James Rector, who bled out due to multiple shotgun wounds, and the blinding of Alan Blanchard, as well as hundreds more injuries. Ronald remained firm in his defense of this event, which has been named Bloody Tuesday. And he justified the shooting of James Rector, saying, quote, "It's very naive to assume that you should send anyone into that kind of conflict with a fly swatter. He's got to have an appropriate weapon."
So the person who... so he was saying that the police have to have an appropriate weapon?
He was saying that, well, it's, it wasn't out of hand that, some people got shot with actual real guns and actual real bullets because, they needed to be prepared. They needed to have an appropriate weapon for this kind of conflict. And it's like, bro, I get it. There was, a large group of people, but, they literally shot people dead.
Yeah,
So.
I don't assume that anybody else there had like guns that were shooting and pointing them at the police. So
they threw like rocks and like bottles.
And I mean
stuff,
that always happens, but like
you're in full riot gear, so you have like
gear.
A shield and
also have literal like government money to buy weapons and things to protect yourself.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's a tale as old as time.
Exactly. And, they also, like, beat the shit out of people. And, yeah, so, okay. So, following that, Reagan declared a state of emergency that evening, and he called in the National Guard. The next few days were a deluge of demonstrations and tear gassing, eventually leading to mass arrests of protesters. Ronald continued to defend his choices even a year after the dust had settled, saying in a speech, quote, "If it takes a bloodbath, let's get it over with. No more appeasement."
Yeah.
So, cool. So,
yeah. It's murdering a bunch of people.
There it is.
Tight.
Right out, just outright, right there.
It's gonna give it to us right there.
So Ronald Reagan began his presidential campaign in 1967, running on a platform of, quote unquote, sending the welfare bums back to work.
Wow.
So there's his, really hates poor people.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Did Ronald Reagan hate poor people?
Oh, man.
It's almost like it's like a scale. He's like, what does Ronald Reagan hate more? Like, it's like poor people and gay people. And it's like, it's constantly tipping back and forth. Like,
and then in the middle, it's communism.
Yeah.
So Ronald lost this election, but he ran again in 1980 and then was elected at the age of 69. Nice. In 1981. Reagan was extremely passionate about prayer in schools and wanted to establish a daily prayer. He felt that Congress was removing God from the classroom, and he continually pushed for a constitutional amendment to require a moment of prayer each day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that kind of goes back to our one episode on like the religious right and the sex education and stuff. Like, like the moral majority was hella pushing to like just have Christian prayer in school.
Yep. Which
is funny because then they would be so against like any other kind of prayer, like and it's like, what the fuck do you like? They don't want like freedom of religion, they just want like freedom for their religion,
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is.
Which Reagan was working with the dude, I can't remember his name, but the dude who like basically kind of started the moral majority. He was like
Jerry
funding
Falwell, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
He was like campaigning with him and like funding his fucking shit.
Well, and that's what's wild is because the right basically like banned around Ronald Reagan to beat Jimmy Carter, who was like an evangelical guy himself, but like he was like, I don't know, like doing what Christians like should actually do and like caring about people, and they were like, oh, we can't have any of that. So they were like, Ronald Reagan, he's heartless enough.
Here. Yeah, he's heartless enough. Oh my God. So Reagan maintained that this prayer time would be voluntary and that students who didn't want to participate would not be forced, but that nonetheless a prayer should be recited each day. And like you were saying, I have a feeling that Ronald was only advocating for a certain type of prayer here. Just a little hunch.
Just a hankering, as they'd say in the South.
In the South, a hankering. On March 30th, 1981, Ronald Reagan was fucking shot in an assassination attempt.
Yep, I do recall. It was the guy. Oh my God, continue.
Okay. He was shot in an assassination attempt, and he fucking survived.
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely insane.
Are you gonna talk about the assassin?
No, talk about it.
He's that fucking guy who shot Ronald Reagan, and I think it's the same. I think he was the one that like actually shot him, but he did it for Jodi Foster. He did it to get Jodi Foster's attention. Yeah, because she was in that fucking movie. What is that movie? Is it like Taxi Driver?
Yeah, I think
so. Yeah, and in the movie, he like she's in the movie, and then somebody like tries to kill the president. So he like does the thing. He shot Ronald Reagan.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. I should have gone into that more.
Oh,
that's
it's okay,
so
but it's
crazy.
so fucking insane. Just for, I mean, I'd probably kill the president for Jodi Foster too. But
sure,
like,
everybody loves Jodi.
Oh, how can you not?
That's like one of those domino things where it's like Jodi Foster stars in fucking whatever movie, and then it's like big domino is like, guy tries to kill Ronald Reagan.
Literally shoots the president. Yeah, that's wild.
So he fucking survives, which is
really
crazy.
Unfortunate, yeah.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And also kind of just like, I don't know if ironic is the right thing, but it's like he basically led to like the death of this dude via getting shot, of James Rector via getting shot, and then he survives getting shot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is ironic. And like,
Sick
he's old
twist
as
of
shit.
fate. He was
wild.
70.
He's 70 years old.
70
and
years
he
old,
survives
gets
a
shot and
a bullet.
lives with a bullet.
With a real ass bullet in the fucking chest. Like, it's insane.
And he lives. He lives.
Yeah.
And so because of this, his popularity went way up, and that made it way easier for him to get reelected in his second term in 1985, despite the bullshit that he accomplished during his first term, which I am about to tell you all about.
Yeah.
Ow. I'll tell you after this break.
These ads. This ad.
Yeah, this one ad.
Mm-hmm.
Continue the beef with Anchor.
Ads. That was good.
That was good.
We're back.
I was gonna try and do that before we
I can start it over.
hopped back on. No, leave it. It's fine.
We're back. We're talking about how AOC is a little cringe and how Phoebe got by TrueAnon.
I really did. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be like so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Yeah, they fucking did a little April Fool's.
Gotcha. They
prank.
got you.
They got me. Also, I feel like I had no idea how passionate people are about April Fools. I feel like on Twitter I saw so many things that was like, fuck this stupid day, and like, don't you ever fool me. Like, I was like, oh my god. Like, I didn't really think it was that deep.
Yeah, I just thought it was a bunch of like fun, harmless jokes that people like, I don't know.
Like, I get some people like take it too far, like do stupid shit, but it's like, so many people have such disdain for April Fool's Day.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm like, it's just silly.
My brother and the rest of my family, we all got in on this joke where my brother was going to tell my parents that he got his girlfriend pregnant.
Oh, God.
And then we did it. We did like a group FaceTime, and we were all in on the joke, and so was my mom, but my dad didn't know.
Oh, no.
So we were like, oh, my God, I'm going to be an uncle. You're going to have a child. And then like... we did that March 31st, and the next day, my brother was like, yeah, Dad, that was an April Fool's joke. And my dad he was like a good sport about it, but he was like, fuck all y'all. It was funny.
Oh, God. I don't think I've ever like really pulled a very good April Fool's prank. There was one April Fool's where I just kept like doing weird shit to my mom's food.
Oh, nice.
Like, I, like, put, like, way too much pepper. Or, like, she asked, I don't know why, this is so stupid. But at the end of the day, we're, like, laying in her bed, and she's like, oh, will you go get me, like, a little, like, piece of chocolate or whatever? And so I get, it's not even, it's just stupid that I did this. So I get a little piece of chocolate, and I put butter on it.
Nice.
And I don't know why. Anyway.
I mean, those are pretty harmless food ones, though, you know?
And then she ate it, and she was like, what the fuck is wrong with this? I was like, I put butter on it.
Wow.
Oh, I'm losing my mind.
Funny. I like it.
Thank you. Oh, man. Ronald Reagan?
The real April Fool's joke on all of us is Ronald Reagan's presidency.
Yeah, amen. So Reagan to this day is regarded as one of the presidents who enacted the most tax cuts, which he did create large tax cuts across the board. He created 16 million new jobs and decreased inflation. His being outspoken about tax cuts and keeping the government out of businesses, contributed to his popularity. And he was a huge supporter of free market capitalism, of course, and worked hard to support the economy. So there was some kind of sort of good shit that he did, except for then it came with a whole bunch of really bad shit. So
yeah, and I mean even then it's like he might have made jobs, but like Reaganomics was very like trickle down economics.
Oh, we're about to fucking get into it. Yeah. Yeah, despite how nice he made it all sound, Reagan actually caused huge economic problems because of this, and we have him to thank for trickle-down economics. Known as Reaganomics in his day, trickle-down economics was the implication of large tax cuts for the wealthy and large businesses, proposing that when this bracket has some relief, that the wealth will trickle down to the average American.
Yeah, which super happens and is foolproof. It's never been
absolutely
proved to be
perfect.
wrong. Yeah.
And that's why we're all
rich.
Yeah, and like doing well, and we can afford to live.
Yeah, every single person can just afford everything.
Yeah, there's not a struggle at all.
Sure. Yeah, I've read history about up to 1981 when Ronald Reagan was in office, and I'm pretty sure everything goes pretty good since then.
Yeah, we don't need to look any further.
No.
Trickle-down economics, of course, does not work. So, by implementing this system, Ronald screwed over the working class and increased poverty. He claimed that by giving companies these tax breaks, it would allow them to raise the wages of employees and therefore save the economy. But that's real funny, Ronnie, because you actually passed legislation freezing the minimum wage at $3.35 an hour.
Oh, no.
$3.35 in 1981.
Yeah, that seems...
Which is like...
Yeah, it seems low for even then.
It totally is. And this is the dude who at one point was earning $3,000 a week.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he did all that himself, right? Like, he didn't ever get any help. Like, he pulled himself up by his bootstraps, which is physically impossible. Which is, where, the saying comes from, because you actually can't do it. But, people misinterpret that. And, yeah, so, I mean, he earned that $3,000 a week completely on his own.
Totally. And it's not because he was, an overpaid, glamorous Hollywood actor.
Yeah, who probably had tons of friends that helped him get to that point.
Ding, ding, ding. So, Ronnie Riggs continued his attack on the poor by cutting funding for public and Section 8 housing, cutting the budgets of basically any program that's good and actually helps people, and then rededicated that money to the military.
Oh, yeah. That's what we need. Yeah, more of is the military.
For sure. For sure. Some of these programs that he cut funding from were Medicaid, food stamps, education, and even the EPA.
Oh my gosh, of course he did that. Which is funny because the EPA was created by Richard Nixon, he, a Republican. It's so wild.
Yeah. He's just so mad that he's like, you know what? I'm even mad at the environment. Fuck the environment.
Fuck the earth. We need more guns.
And then he also removed many people with disabilities from receiving Social Security.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, just an all-around stellar dude.
Stellar.
So Reagan practically tripled the national debt due to his continued spending on the military, despite the fact that we were reportedly in peacetime. Which brings me to Reagan's involvement in the Cold War. Tayler and I did a series on the Cold War where we went into great detail about what went down, so I'm not going to get super specific. But the military spending of Ronnie Boy increased due to the Cold War. He felt the need to compete with the Soviet Union in an arms race, so he pushed funding towards the development of nuclear weapons and missiles. Which is where that Star Wars fucking program that he came up with.
Yeah. He's like, we gotta beat him in space.
Exactly. Taking this to space.
I feel like Ronald Reagan, every couple of generations, we have an idiot president like Donald Trump. We just remember them more fondly. But that is because Donald Trump did the space thing too. But it is just a very idiot president thing to be like, what about space? Do we have space covered right now?
Exactly.
Can we get to space?
He's like, let's ignore everything that's going on on Earth and in the country that I control, and let's think about space.
We need to think more about space.
Outer space. Why are we not doing more about space? What if the Soviet Union invades space?
That's our space too. It should be. We're Americans. God wants us to have that space.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just fucking insane.
So when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, Reagan countered by deploying the Special Activities Division of the CIA to Afghanistan to help train and arm the Mujahideen against the Soviet army. And this move from Reagan quite literally led to 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Literally.
That's the dominoes that we need to be
straight up.
Up.
Straight up. So the Mujahideen was this I guess, sort of like rebel group kind of thing. And then the CIA comes in, they arm them, they train them to fight against the Soviet army and as well as fight against the communist leadership in Afghanistan at the time.
Yeah.
So they fought tirelessly against the Soviet army, and that eventually led to the Soviets' withdrawal from Afghanistan. However, the Mujahideen, because they were going against the communist government in Afghanistan, when the Soviet army left, the Mujahideen took over the government, but because the Mujahideen was very unstable and it was kind of this like pieced together group of a lot of different ideologies, and then the CIA coming in basically was just like, Soviet Union bad, communism bad, and didn't like actually really organize anything. So when they took over, it was super unstable. So that quickly fell apart, and then following that, civil war breaks out, and the Mujahideen are crushed by the Taliban, who held control of the country until we invaded in 2001.
Yeah. Damn,
so,
that's crazy.
Yeah, literally, like, Reagan caused 9/11 pretty much.
Literally classic CIA, too, to just be like, fight against these guys. We don't care what you actually believe.
Yep.
But if you're going to fight against communism, then we're with you. And then the minute they beat them, the CIA is like, we were never here.
Yep. We're out.
We're
See you
out
later.
to buy.
You don't know my name.
Exactly. And then they're like, well, fuck. What do we do now?
Now, like, a horrible terrorist group took over this whole country? Fuck.
And they're like, yes, it's a horrible terrorist group, but they're not communists.
So
I think it's a win for everybody, really.
And then they're like, oh, fuck, but that oil that's over there.
Like,
let's figure out a way to...
How do we get
back in there?
Get back in that that region.
So there you go. That is part 1 of the fucking shit that Ronald Reagan has done to this country.
Lovely.
And folks, there is so much more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's not even scratching the surface of it.
No.
It's insane.
This is just term 1.
And that's the wild thing, too, is it's like we're doing a 2-part episode and it's still not everything.
No.
It's still not like as deep as you can go.
Yeah, there's no way. It would be like a 4 or 5-parter.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it'd be insane on some of these motherfuckers. And we're not behind the bastards, so.
Exactly.
But yeah, well, I'll jump into mine now.
Fuck
which
yeah.
We're talking about good old Billy Clint. William Jefferson Clinton was born on August 19th, 1946 to William Jefferson Blythe Jr. and Virginia Dell Cassidy were his parents.
All right.
William Jefferson Blythe Jr. actually died in a car accident 3 months before Bill was born.
Oh my God.
His mother left Bill in the care of his grandparents while she went to nursing school, and after nursing school, she married Roger Clinton Sr.
Ah, there it is.
Which is where the name comes from.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, and then I found out.
There's your answer.
Bill began using the last name Clinton from an early age, but was officially adopted at the age of 15, and his family moved to Hot Springs, Arkansas in 1950. While attending Hot Springs High, Bill took an interest in law. He was basically just like a debate kid. He was a nerdy-ass debate kid. Bisley Klislers stated that the 2 things that led him into a life of public service was visiting JFK in 1963 through some kind of youth program, and MLK's I Have a Dream speech in that same year, which he would later in his life memorize.
Oh, shit.
So very, I feel like it's very liberal shit to be like, yeah, Martin Luther King, such a big influence on me, but then not, like, acknowledge any of his, like, socialist ideals, because Martin Luther King was very into socialism.
Yeah.
But, you know.
What a time to be alive, too.
True, yeah. Like, in the same year, he saw JFK and saw the I Have a Dream speech. In college at Georgetown University, he joined Alpha Phi Omega, because, of course, Bill Clinton was in a fraternity.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone's going to be, it's Bill.
If anyone's going to be, it's Bill. He also joined the Order of Demole, a club with Freemason ties, although he did never become an official Freemason. But it's very similar to like the Bush family and their involvement with like the Skull and Bones Club or whatever.
What is that?
It's like a college club for like a bunch of rich assholes who like, I don't know. It's I even have it here, like, it's just trust fund kid LARPing. And then it turns into long alliances from all these trust fund kids that shape the entire history of the world. So it's very fun. Very good.
Fun. I watched this documentary on Netflix one time that was, like, all about the Freemasons. Mm-hmm. And it didn't really show, like, you know, all the real shit that goes down. But, like, it kind of showed, like, some of their ceremonies. And then it was just, like, dudes like saying poems that they had to memorize and wearing little aprons and then like drinking a lot of beer together.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of a lot of what basically these clubs are. Not all of them have to do with like Freemasonry, of course, but yeah, it's just, again, it's just trust fund kid LARPing, being like, you're not allowed into our club unless you like, I don't know, you commit a war crime or like, I don't know.
I mean, it's fucking frats too, and that's the same shit.
It's the same shit, yeah. It's basically like, again, it's like the next step up from fraternity is like being in a dumbass club called Skull and Bones.
Yes.
Or whatever. In college at Oxford, Klinsky's was pretty anti-Vietnam War. One of Bill's best friends named Frank Aller commits suicide after being drafted to Vietnam. It was said that Bill and his friends would attend protests and groups fighting against the war. He also would receive educational draft deferments, so he didn't have to get drafted while he was getting his education. And it's actually believed that while he was at Oxford, he joined the ROTC to attempt to have enough influence to keep himself from being drafted. And again, that's speculated that that's true, but that's what people think, is that he was trying to draft dodge by being part of the ROTC and kind of like being on the inside.
Interesting.
I don't personally give a fuck about draft dodging. If the draft came back, I'd dodge it immediately.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd move to Canada as fast as possible. But conservatives would later take issue with this, of course. And then go on to ignore it completely with Donald Trump. So I just think that's really fun, you know.
Weird how they just pick and choose.
Always fun how they pick and choose. In 1971, he met Hillary Rodham while they were both attending Yale. The couple moved to Texas for Bill to take a job offer, and they were apparently friends with the then unknown TV director and filmmaker Steven Spielberg.
The fuck?
Yeah. This being one of the first ties I could find to like celebrity that Bill Clinton had. Keep that in mind because it will come back in part 2. A little foreshadow skis. But yeah, so weird that like they were just like kicking around in 1971 in Texas with like Steven Spielberg, who wasn't famous, like super famous yet. He just like made TV shows and like some small films.
Yeah,
it's crazy. In 1974, the couple moved back to Arkansas and were married on October 11th, 1975. In 1978, he won the governor position in Arkansas. Bill was only 32 years old, which made him the youngest governor at the time, and was dubbed Boy Governor, was like his nickname, because apparently nobody in politics can make up funny nicknames.
Ever.
I feel like Gov Jr. would have been a better one.
Yeah.
Like I came up with that right now. Like that's
on the fucking spot.
Out of the top of my head. And
Boy Governor.
Boy Governor is what they called him.
I hate it.
I fucking hate. Yeah, it's stupid. Gov Jr. It's just something, please. God. Anything. He lost in 1980, but then won governor again in 1982 and stayed until 1992. The term limit was extended from 2 to 4 years while he was governor, which supposedly helped to be able to implement more legislation without having so many like governor changes. So the like amount of time you would be governor, I think it's extended from 2 to 4 years.
Sure, yeah.
Or whatever. Something like that. What is considered Bill's biggest accomplishment as governor was his reform of the education system, which he started in the early 80s. He implemented legislation that would increase the spending allocated to schools, increase teacher salaries, provide vocational education options, more course variety, and implement compulsory teacher exams. So all like pretty reasonable stuff, especially in Arkansas, which according to this U.S. News article I looked up is still ranked 41 out of the 50 states for education. So not the best. But it does seem that was like one of the best things he did was like his work in the education system.
Sure.
And again, I feel like one of the things that I found with Bill Clinton is like he sucks, but like he did, at least at the beginning of his career, he definitely had like good intentions, you know?
Right.
Again, as like most people do, I feel like, you know, same with like what we were talking about with AOC and everything.
Yeah.
They always have good intentions, but I feel like you get lost somewhere along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what won't, you know what does always have good intentions is this break.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Ads. We're back. Phoebe, what's your favorite font?
My favorite font, I like a good, honestly, like Times New Roman. It slaps. Yeah. It never gets old.
It never gets old.
I do have a strong disdain for Helvetica.
Well, okay.
I don't know why, but I just like, I hate it.
I'll fight. You'll fight Helvetica.
I would
on site.
fight. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I feel that way about Impact font. I just feel like it's been used so much.
I get that, yeah.
And I'm like, why are you using Impact font?
I feel like Impact font is like conservative.
Yeah.
It gives conservative.
It gives. Whereas like Times New Roman gives like intellectual.
Yeah.
Socialist. Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
I do think it'd be funny to like make like band shirts that just are like in Times New Roman font.
And like that's it.
Especially if it was like a metal band, like you know how they have those crazy,
but
God. It's like just Times New Roman or like Comic Sans.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It'd be beautiful.
I'm also a fan of Georgia. I like Georgia.
Yeah. Georgia's nice. Yeah.
I feel like Georgia's like a little more of like a slightly more whimsical Times New Roman.
Yeah, exactly. There's this one, I don't know how official the font name is, but what I usually use for like my music promotion is this one called Thirsty Rough Reg.
Oh my God.
There's Thirsty Rough Bold, Thirsty Rough Light, and then Thirsty Rough Reg.
Sure, yeah.
And I just think Thirsty Rough Reg is the way to go.
Thirsty Rough.
Yeah, I don't know, that's the name of it.
I like my men how I like my
fonts.
Thirsty Rough.
Thirsty and rough. Woo, all right. Well, back to Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
It is believed that early in his career he was anti-capital punishment, but this would change later on in his career. This was kind of the era of like conservative, tough on crime, fear mongering, and Democrats aren't known for holding to their principles ever. So you see a lot of Dems being tough on crime as well. As to not be seen as weak by conservatives. Bill was leaning so heavily into this big tough guy on crime persona that he actually flew home from his campaign tour in 1992, when he was running for president, to personally oversee the execution of Ricky Ray Rector, who did murder someone and I think killed a police officer as well. But it was like he was trying so hard to look like this big tough, like I'm so tough on crime, that he flew back to Arkansas from wherever the fuck he was on his campaign to like oversee this execution in person. Yeah, kind of weird.
Creepy.
Clinton won the 1992 campaign and became the 42nd president of the United States of America. And the fun was just getting started. Some questioned a conflict of interest with an associated firm called the Rose Law Firm that Hillary was a partner with, and the amount of political power that the firm held. Bill said it was fine because all of the he's like, it's fine.
It's all good, you guys.
All of the transactions with the state had been deducted before negotiating Hillary's pay.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was not a big deal.
No.
Bill also announced during his campaign that with Hillary, and I quote, with Hillary, voters would be getting 2 presidents for the price of 1.
Wow.
Which sounds terrible to me.
Yeah.
Because 1 seems to fuck us over enough. I don't want to get too into the weeds with like the economics of his presidency, but Bill was able to actually help the U.S. budget It was one of the first times in recent history that the budget was not at a deficit, so the U.S. wasn't spending more money than it was collecting, and increasing the national debt. So that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
Bill also pushed through some welfare reforms in an attempt to expand the welfare program. Again, very basic liberal shit. And he also created NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which opened up trade between Mexico, the United States, and Canada, and made us all into one big trade bloc, as they call it. Creating free trade between the countries was believed to have positive effects on small businesses by making importing materials cheaper, but critics of NAFTA will point out that many manufacturing jobs were relocated from the U.S. According to the CFR, over 35,000 auto manufacturing jobs were relocated out of the United States, probably because with the trade deals, companies can get workers in other countries to work for cheaper wages and import the products to America for less money.
Right.
So that's one of those things. And again, I don't know that there was necessarily it was like an evil intention kind of thing.
Sure.
It just is like a side effect of that.
That's blows my mind that didn't happen until, when is this?
This would have been like 1992, 1993.
Yeah, that seems like so recent.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah, you used to have tariffs and stuff on
right
imports from like Mexico and Canada, which there's not anymore apparently.
Interesting.
And unless this has changed since then, I haven't looked into the recentness of this, but yeah. He implemented don't ask, don't tell policy in the U.S. military. See our entire episode on that, where Phoebe goes over that one in great detail. Basically, the gist, though, is that instead of addressing the root problem of why the military is so homophobic, Bill just told gay people to not bring it up. Just pretend you're straight. That's
fine.
Yeah, it's super
You'll be fine, right?
I know the military is known for how homophobic it is, but
you won't get beat up or killed or anything like that.
No, just pretend it doesn't exist.
It's crazy, going through this research, and it's oh fuck, we have a whole episode on that. It's just these are such large things that happened. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was interesting.
You can make whole episodes on just very specific points in the presidency.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why it is an overview for sure. But yeah, no, for sure. One policy that had bipartisan support was the Family Medical Leave Act of 1993. This act required employers to give unpaid leave to employees for medical issues and pregnancy. Not even paid leave. It just required unpaid leave. So employers couldn't just fire you if you got pregnant or you could not work.
Christ.
In 1993.
I hate everything.
They just had to be okay, we won't pay you, but you can still work here when you're done being pregnant. It's so insane.
We won't pay you, but you can leave.
And people were yeah, no, that seems pretty reasonable. It was bipartisan support, and Bill was I'm doing a good thing here. It's
this is revolutionary.
This is revolutionary, yeah. Clinton did reverse a lot of restrictions on family planning programs that were implemented by the Reagan and Bush administrations.
Hey.
Bill had this slogan: abortion should be safe, legal, and rare, which I suppose is better than the alternative of being not safe, not legal, and often, I suppose. I don't know. Abortion rates did decline by 18% during the 8 years of the Clinton presidency, because education and providing resources is crazy that it actually works.
So weird.
It's wild. But yeah, so not too bad there in that area. Mm-hmm. As we spoke about before, Bill did have one of the best spending budgets, but in order to get the budget in line, it did require that he raise taxes quite a bit. He ran on a promise to help lower the taxes of the middle class, which didn't exactly happen. He did, however, raise taxes on the top 1.2% elite and did cut taxes for 15 million low-income households, which isn't nothing, but it did frustrate the middle class of people because he said he would help them out with their taxes, and they didn't get... He, lowered it for low-income, raised it for high-income, but middle kind of stayed pretty stagnant there. Mm-hmm. He also attended to implement a universal health care plan, which seemed to have widespread support in most political circles at the time, even conservative ones. But because Well, yeah, and because politics were different back then, even conservatives could be like, yeah, medical care is probably good for everybody.
Right.
The plan was, of course, shot down, though, by a conservative group of lobbyists, as well as the the health insurance industry. Big insurance, always fucking it up. There was the White House Travel Office controversy.
Oh.
This one's, very scandalous. 7 White House employees were fired without warning in May of 1993. The White House staff were on contract to work for however long the president needed them and could be let go of at any time, so it wasn't illegal to fire them. But many believe that Bill fired them to make room for friends of the Clintons to take their spots, which would be kind of a shitty thing to do. It's definitely like on a lower end of like Bill Clinton's controversies, but still, people were like, "Hey, this isn't cool. You fired people that have worked at the White House on the travel team for quite some time." And again, it was thought that him and Hillary were bringing in their friends to work.
Which I would believe.
I would definitely believe.
That's a very Clinton-y thing to do.
The nepotism's running wild. This was also followed by the Whitewater controversy. Maybe not followed, but the Whitewater controversy has kind of become it's less of like the actual thing that happened and more it's kind of become somewhat of like a term for the corruptions of the Clintons and their like shady backroom deals that were believed to be happening. The initial scandal basically had to do with Bill and Hillary's friendship and business partners Jim and Susan McDougall. Jim and Susan ended up stealing about $3 million through some shady land deals and tax fuckery. And the Clintons were never formally charged for any crime regarding the McDougalls. But that, of course, doesn't mean that they didn't commit crimes, and it doesn't keep people from speculating. But at the end of the day, we just don't know if they were involved or not. Many of the controversies of the Clinton administration would be investigated by the Whitewater Independent Council, which is why that name has kind of like been associated with like Clinton fuckery, like Whitewater controversies and whatnot. He did increase background checks and waiting periods for firearm purchases, which I'm sure made a lot of conservatives mad. I don't necessarily think that background checks and waiting periods are necessarily a bad thing.
Sure.
As far as like guns go,
Yeah.
I think background checks are pretty widely accepted as to be like a good thing.
Yeah.
And same with waiting periods. But that does bring us to the Omnibus, OMNIBUS. Omnibus Crime Bill.
Yes.
This bill made more crimes punishable by death in the U.S. and is debated to be one of the catalysts for the mass incarceration that would continue to modern day, because more money would be given to prisons if they had more prisoners. Joe Biden, as well as, in a plot twist, Bernard Sanders, played a role in pushing the bill forward.
Not our boy.
Our boy. Which both politicians have received criticism on in the present day.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was Joe Biden and Bernard Sanders.
Damn.
I know. R.I.P. Nobody can say that I'm biased.
Exactly.
I put Bernie Sanders. I told you the facts. He also launched the first official whitehouse.gov website, which makes sense because it was like 1993, you know?
That's kind of funny.
But it is, yeah. That was the first time the White House had a website, was under Bill Clinton. So he pushed forward some like super radical policies and opinions, like believing that AIDS exists.
What?
And that it was a problem that should be taken seriously, which is more than can be said for the presidents prior to him.
Tune in next week
to find out more about that. At the same time, though, in 1996, he did sign the Defense of Marriage Act into law, which allowed states to not recognize gay marriage performed in another state where it was legal. This bill would be erased or shot down completely in 2003. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I did see that, like, the way that they justified it was like, oh, we were trying to get it legalized on like a federal level. So they made it so that like states could do whatever. so that they could try to push something through that would make it legal all over.
Sure.
But it is just like a weird misstep, I feel, in like the rise of, gay rights.
Yeah. He's like, we don't want you to die of AIDS, but you don't get to have rights still.
If the state doesn't want to give you rights, it's kind of, how are you going to argue that?
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do? I'm only the president. Exactly. He did lift the ban of security clearance for LGBT federal employees in 1996. 1996 was when you would stop being discriminated against on a federal level for being gay. It was the year I was born.
Oh my God.
It's insane. And I guess it's not like surprising, because like what 2016 was when gay marriage was finally legalized. 2015.
Yeah, I think it was.
I don't remember the exact year. I guess
something like that. I think it was 16.
So it's like we've only even been able to get married for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But so I guess it's not surprising. But yeah, it's insane. He did sign he signed a bill called the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act. This combined the legal proceedings of different functions of the immigration court to streamline deportation. Basically just eliminated the amount of representation and due process that an immigrant would receive before being deported, which is good. An extremely liberal thing to do.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And again, I feel like we're seeing the same thing with like Kamala Harris's bullshit, where she's like on the campaign, she was like, "We want you to come here," and then now she's like, "Don't cross the border."
Don't.
It's literally what she said. It's insane.
Yeah.
To wrap up Clinton's first term in office, he almost died in 1996 in the Philippines. The Secret Service intercepted a radio transmission about a bomb being placed on a bridge that the president's car would be crossing.
Oh my God.
The car, of course, took a different route, and Bill didn't get murdered. But I believe the situation... And I think the situation was diffused quickly, but it was reported that Bill was very upset that he would be late to his meeting because of the detour.
Oh. So sorry, Bill.
And that wraps up Mr. Clinton's first term in office.
Wow.
Obviously kind of a shitty guy. Next week, in part 2, we'll jump into some of the juicy details of his second terms, and I'm sure the scandal that you're all thinking in your heads. Well, that'll be part of it. So,
fuck.
But yeah, that's what he did in his first term. Which again, it's funny because like, in a lot of those things that he signed in were like pretty bad. Like the illegal immigration one, the fucking crime bill and stuff like that. But people still think that like, just I don't know, like having sex was like the worst thing he did.
No, exactly.
Again, the media and the White House for sure mistreated Mrs. Lewinsky. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like he's did a lot of other shitty things too. Don't think that that's like the only bad thing. But it's like,
people look at him as bad. They're like, he cheated on his wife.
Yeah, and it's weird too because like I feel like if that hadn't have happened, like if that scandal hadn't have broke, like Bill Clinton would be like the Ronald Reagan for Democrats.
Totally.
He would have been like the one that they're like looking back on and being like, the Clinton years, they were so good.
Yeah, no, it's so true.
And even me, like this was a pretty personal one because like when I was like a high school liberal, I remember like reading about Bill Clinton being like, this guy's all right, because he like supported gay people and didn't think everyone should starve, like
exactly.
Like I was like, this guy's all right, and then of course
had like low basic decency.
Exactly.
And you're like, wow.
So I feel like like as I got more radical, I realized Bill Clinton sucks. As more things came out about him, but
I was the same way with the Obamas.
Exact same thing. He's like, oh wow, he's like a well-spoken, not idiot man who believes that people should be respected. Like, yeah, it's definitely a thing.
That's how they get you.
It's how they get you. And they're too well-spoken. Not that I would say I think Bill Clinton was more well-spoken than like Bush. For sure.
Yeah. He
was also a southern boy. But
he was. Oh, Bill.
Yeah. And that's good old Bill Klinsky's.
Nice. Fuck yeah. Looking forward to next week.
I am also looking forward to next week.
For our part 2 of
Hear more
why
about
you should hate
Ronald Reagan
and Bill Clinton.
I like what we did there.
That was good. That was very good.
Phoebe, if I was a listener and I wanted to know, if I wanted like just those juicy pictures of like the episode, where would
Images,
visual items, I don't know. Where would I go?
Could check out our Instagram, which is @RemarksPodcast. And then you can also check out our TikTok of the same name, @RemarksPodcast. Taylor, where can I do tweets at?
You can tweet at us at RemarksPod on Twitter.com. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Please.
5 stars, please.
Every week I'm just going to get more
please.
Up close to the mic.
For sure. And then, of course, you can check out my YouTube channel, which is it's the Lefty Agenda on YouTube.
The ads start to get
just
over
put
the place.
at everywhere, yeah. And then let's thank our patrons.
Yeah. We have our newest patron today. Thank you so much. We love you.
We have Andrew Vass. Thank you so much.
We have Emily Doran.
And Justin Vass. Thank you all so much for supporting the pod.
You guys rock.
You're the best. I think that covers everything.
Beautiful. Amazing. 10 out of 10.
If you aren't a patron, we're about to record a bonus episode.
It's true. And I think it's going to be a pretty good one.
So hop on that if you want to hear it. And you get 2 stickers.
It's true.
Yeah.
$5 a month.
And the stickers are sexy.
They are very sexy.
You will get bitches.
Yeah,
if
literally,
you put the stickers places.
Bitches will look at, whatever item you have the sticker on and be like, wait, is that a Remarks sticker?
Mm-hmm.
Panties drop immediately.
Yeah, for sure. It's happened to you.
Multiple times.
In public, yeah. For sure.
And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, whoa.
Calm down.
Yeah, I don't want to be drowning in all this pussy.
Yeah, I'm...
Yeah, for sure.
Ladies, I can't breathe.
Exactly. I gotta get air into my lungs. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Can't just breathe pussy all the time.
Amazing.
Oh my god.
But anyway,
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.